Dom, I'm super pumped to have you here, man. So we like to do a warm-up with certain individuals just before we get into the heavy stuff that we're going to talk about with your military career, faith, all the good stuff that's going to come up. This is like a quick warm-up we like to do. Everybody wants to know what you're carrying on you. So let's do a down and dirty, everyday carry pocket dump.
Okay, so does the pocket dump actually come out?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you wanted to.
Yeah, where do you want me to put it?
Put it right on that table right there next to
Okay,
you.
so
But just present,
yeah,
just show us each item. No big deal.
absolutely. So obviously one of my favorite subjects, everyday carry, right? I think first and foremost, one of the main things that's been, I think, important for us and just seen it work in so many different ways is the rosary, and why I carry that every single day is important to me. So, I'm not going to start with anything else other than this because we know that there is spiritual warfare in this world, and I'm sure that we will get into this, but it really started with the Dominicans carrying this on their left side as well because of the knights. That's where they would carry their sword on the left.
Really?
So, yes.
They carry it on the left. I didn't know that. I carry one. I always keep it in my right hand.
Because they would draw
pocket.
out from the left. So this being our spiritual weapon, and to have that connection that transcends time, that realistically, in battle, whether physical or spiritual, it's just that connection. Also a trigger. I talk about triggers a lot in my programs and my mindset training. And if you need guidance, this thing, when you grab onto this and you look, and of course there's so much history and depth here, that it will trigger you to start being whatever you're trying to improve in your life, especially when it comes to spiritual. It allows you to remind yourself, why am I doing this? What's my why? So that's number one. And then my blade. I carry a blade every single day, pretty much no matter where I go, unless there's something I need to go through or I'm getting screened. A blade is one of those weapons as well that kind of throughout history, warriors have always used a blade. I mean, we can trace that back as far as we can possibly even look. Guys have used a blade for hunting, for crafts, for skills, for defense. So there's a lot of history behind why we carry a blade. So for me, it's a non-negotiable thing. And, when you have a band of brothers like we do, it's one of those items where it's like, hey, don't get caught without your blade. There's a penalty for that, type of thing. So it's not just an object that I could use, but it's also a way of life. So it's thinking about this a little bit more deeply and respecting it for what it is. In the Philippine martial arts with Kali, they talk about how, if they unsheathe their weapon, they have to use it. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but if they take their blade out, they're going to put it to use. So it's one of those connections where it's like, okay, if I pull this thing out, what am I doing with it? So this is the Razorback blade that we make. I did the Razorback, the name, in honor of Adam Brown. The red and black handle was because the Razorbacks have the red and black logo. And a little bit of tribute to him there, just because Adam made a huge impact on my life. So much to talk about. We could talk a full day about Adam, but just a beautiful tribute to him. It's the compact version of what we carry. I like traveling with that. It's a little bit more adaptable depending on what I'm wearing. And then it's in our IWB sheath. And of course, this is what I do for, my life. And, I'm so passionate about the gear, so I don't want to geek out too much.
Can I see that?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to pass it the right way. Oh. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I purchased one of these a long time ago, and I love this blade. I don't use it. It's sentimental to me because we know each other, and so it's going to be framed, hanging in here. But there it is. This is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious. When did you start carrying a blade?
They were important to me even when I was younger, carrying a blade. I always recognized as significant, whether you say that it was in my time as Boy Scout or, the progression through me reading stuff about like Tom Brown and survival, you realize really quickly, like that's an important tool. And I think that for me, it started to become a part of my lifestyle from a fixed blade perspective when I really started fighting at the command. And I started to realize like, oh, this is something that I should have every day. I know how to use it. Now let me live this lifestyle. And I think that grows on you when you start realizing like, oh, I actually know how to apply this. So it's a real weapon. Somebody that doesn't know the application of it can kind of feel sort of awkward with the relationship of a blade. Like in some cases, it's more scary to them than it is helpful. You know, so I think that there was a transition there between my military career of actually owning that as part of my life.
Is that when you really started to learn how to use a fixed blade? Is when you're over at Dev Group, or?
Yeah, there was obviously some brief overviews in the teams, and I took to that and I kind of understood it, but not really from a concealed perspective of really implementing it like we did. When we started working with SEOC and those guys, like my eyes were opened in the sense of like, oh, I know how to be violent and I know how to be effective, but now you put the blade in my hand, and now both sides of the offensive and the defensive I can understand. And it kind of took it to another level. So there's a lot of guys in that organization that I always give a tribute to because of how well they do their craft and how serious they take it. That kind of came on us, you know. And what do? We always go find the best in the world. And, you know, whether you look for them or they end up there, it's like a magnet, right? Because everybody that's really good at what they do ends up being in that nucleus, that spot that you end up there because you're great at what you do. And so I think that was the eye-opening moment for me working with those guys and seeing how they move. And I think that's also what transcended in our courses is that people like, I never realized you had to move like that when they watch us or they watch us do the demos or we do something live. They start to, realize like, oh, that's what it takes to actually defend yourself. It's like, yes, even if it's just permission in your mind to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I never got the opportunity when I was in to learn how to properly use a blade. So please excuse my ignorance with passing it back to you there. But
it's all good. There's a deep part of that, right? Like that's just a warrior way of passing it. It's kind of, if you ever look at somebody that doesn't know how to handle a blade, there's always this awkward, like, how do I pass it type thing. And when you start to develop those skills and that surety, I mean, you can pass a blade like that without even looking. So it becomes very, very effective, not only for just showing somebody a blade, but also in fight access, like actually doing that in a dynamic situation. And the cool thing is I do that with my whole family, like every one of my kids, even Joseph. Joseph at 2 already knows that that's how you pass a blade. So it's ingrained in him. Yeah, if you say pass, he'll just say, he calls them big sharps. Like, so he loves big sharps. He's like, got the big sharp factory over there, but he's been helping me out. And I'll pass him. He's like, all right, pass. And he'll put his hand out. Boom, he'll pass it. And he'll give it to you right back the same way. Oh, so it's kind of ingraining that motor memory now,
Okay, so when do you start? That's incredible. 2 years old?
Yeah.
When did you start teaching your kids about firearms and blades?
That right there is a really good question. And obviously firearms are something that's extremely important to our lifestyle. And they're abundant in the world, right? It's something that we need to recognize and kind of confront as a reality. It's not something that we wish it was, but it is actually here. They exist. You're probably going to run into one at some point in your life. So taking responsibility for that. So when I really look at the development of understanding and the respect of firearms, for me, it has to be an intuitive process because it's not as simple as like, oh, right when you're 2, it's just black and white that you're going to be able to learn about them.
Yeah.
So it's non-negotiable to learn about them because I remember some of the situations I went in when I was a kid. But my trigger for my children at each different stage that they're at is to identify, do they know the difference between a real gun and a toy gun? And really auditing that process. Like, do they actually know? Does that Nerf gun feel and look and act like the real gun that I'm showing you? And what's the difference? They need to be able to articulate it. They need to be able to understand it. They need to be able to say that. Guns are a tool. They can kill, take, and save lives. So the seriousness of that has to be understood. So they already start knowing the methodologies, like the 5 safety rules. Awareness, always treat a gun like it's loaded, never point your gun at anything you don't want to kill or destroy, never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to fire, and always know your target, what's behind it, and all around it. So those are ingrained into them all, right? Every one of them knows that. I think Aurora is probably working on the last couple, but Leo's got them down to a T. So recognizing that they understand those, now it's identifying, well, what does awareness to you mean to you, buddy? Like, how are you actually understanding what that means? He's like, well, I know I have to pay attention. I know I have to look around my environment. I know I have to think about, well, who's in the next room over? Who's downstairs right now? Is there anybody above us? No. Okay. We have a clear roof. So if he can articulate that, now awareness starts to become a thing. And also from that very early age, I'm like, don't put your finger on the trigger when you're running around aimlessly if you're not putting your gun up. Don't sweep your little brother. It's always the younger ones because there's an intentionality to it. Like, you want to protect your brother, right? Yes, that's Joseph. He's 2. Don't sweep your brother. Got it. Now, all of them are not sweeping each other. So there's already this methodology and mindset that's already being ingrained into them. So
What age, how young do they touch a firearm in your family? Is it different for all of them?
Leo started shooting already.
How old is Leo?
So Leo's 7. I would say where a real live firearm, and again, we can play games with that too, as far as like calibers and all that. But I think at the point of which the youngest has really held a real firearm is probably around 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because they at least have the understanding that can hurt you. That's the difference. Like there's a differentiator there, and so they can contrast that. Now, when I go to shoot, what are you choosing? I'm not just going to go put a 12 gauge in my 5-year-old's hand. We're going to probably start with a 22. But then you also have to understand, what's the gain out of that? Am I gaining anything by taking my 5-year-old to go shoot a 5.56 or a 9mm round? And I'm going to tell you that no, you're not really gaining much at all. I think that starting them earlier on and making sure their proficiency is dialed in, airsoft, pellet, BB, paintball, pick one, right? Pick one that you can utilize in a safer environment and really get them to understand. And then everybody's got to be that coach and that judge to say, all right, this is my child. I know they understand it. They're actually digesting this knowledge and they can apply it, which is the most important part, safely. Now we can move to a higher caliber. I think that's an intuition that you have to have as a firearms instructor or even a parent. It's a parent's responsibility to really take that seriously too.
Yeah. I have a 2-year-old and a newborn now, and I never really thought about. Oh, thank you. I never really thought about until very recently how I'm going to introduce firearms into my kids. And so it's tricky, in today's world, it's getting more and more dangerous, more and more home break-ins. I didn't used to have a weapon in every room. Now I do. Okay. And so one thing I've done is I have, even in my daughter's nursery, there will be a firearm hanging. I'll probably get, it will be probably one of those little Tiffany blue pistols. And in my son's room, I have a old antique Winchester 357 lever action, and that they can't reach. But I just want them to get used to seeing it. And with my 2-year-old now, when he sees a gun, I don't think he even knows what this means, but he'll point at the gun, say gun, and then he'll say very, very dangerous. Yep. And I just want him to get used to being around it, so it's not like this big thing. The first time he sees one, he sees me shoot in our backyard, and yeah. But I'm always curious, with gents like you, how you introduce it into your family, because I think it's extremely important, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I see people taking their 4-year-old out to shoot an AR or a deer rifle, or a 12 gauge, and it's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, there's a certain level of intelligence we have to apply to it too, and the safety of our home is really important, and that's another reason, right? Like, I want my son, he's 14. I know my 14-year-old can pick up a rifle right now, pick up a pistol, he's good. But the younger ones too, it became apparent to me, like, I need to keep these firearms safe, and that's something I encourage everybody to do, to make sure that they're safe, because an extra 5 seconds to open the safe up, to me, that barrier of the unknown when I'm not home, for whatever reason, curiosity or any of those other things, it's really important to create that barrier. I don't think that I see a point now in which I wouldn't have that, just because it's a peace of mind knowing that there's a level of separation between them and the firearm. So something to consider, for your own home. I know you said hang, but I have strategic safes placed all over my house in the same method, but they're in safes.
So do I.
Okay.
I mean, I can't even reach the gun without a step stool in my son's room. But that's what we have too. We have some of those quick safes
Got it. Yep.
throughout the house in every room. And I was rocking my son to sleep, and I was like, man, like
Vulnerable.
I'm gonna be that guy that's
Yeah.
got a weapon in every single room, because if somebody came in right now, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And
Well, that's where a little bit of training and a little bit of intentionality can go a really long way.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea of contrasting. Like we're not paranoid, we're prepared.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of accepting reality as it is to make sure that you implement that throughout your house. So it's smart to do. It really is.
Yeah. It's interesting, how your mindset, at least mine, is the minute I had kids, it changed. I was like, okay, like some new things need to happen in this household immediately when it comes to home protection type stuff.
1,000%. There is a level of accountability and reality that hits you when you have children to care for, and especially when you really care for your children. And I think that the world takes on a different view of realizing all the things that we screwed up come kind of crashing in our face. Like, oh, this is why we can't continue this behavior. This is why I need to shift my mindset. This is what I'm protecting. And I had a sense of it too when I was younger, going overseas and kind of protecting and thinking about my nephews and nieces, but it definitely changes when you have children.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's move on with the EDC.
All right, so the next piece would be my tourniquet, and this is one thing that I try to keep on me everywhere I go. This one is a smaller version of the tourniquet, and these guys are awesome. I actually saw them at SHOT Show, but if you see, it's actually almost like an inch wide.
Interesting.
So it's still enough to grab on, but it's small enough where you carry it. Where a regular size TQ, it's cumbersome to put in my pocket. I'm not going to lie. And these guys have just done a great job putting these together. So
I've not seen that one before.
Yeah, this one's it's cool because it's compact, and that's what I like about it. The Solo T also, I have a whole bag behind me with like a whole nother layer. Typically, I think in 3 layers: what's on me, what's quick access, and then what's kind of like my intentional go to the vehicle type stuff. And I'm traveling, and to me, I'm always going to have that level of security on me for me, my family, and everybody else. The next thing I have on me is obviously...
Real quick, I got a question.
Yeah.
What's with the level thing here?
That is a Chemlite.
That's a Chemlite,
So
okay.
it was something that they were trying, how effective that is and how necessary it is. It's kind of like, what's the context of the situation? But I think they were thinking like, if you crack the Chemlite, you have a little bit more of a quick visual. Where's the TQ? If you had a really big trauma situation or you had multiple casualties, now you guys are coming in to be like, oh, there's the Chemlite. It's in the middle of the night, dark, headlamps are on or whatever the case is. Or even under night vision, I suppose. You got something to identify. You come up on a guy that's bleeding out or a situation, it might just be a signal or an identifier. Again, when you're a pro, it's not something that you really need.
Yeah.
But you're kind of mid-pro, intermediate type level, it might be a cue to be like, oh, that's where I need to be paying attention to. Stress levels are high, adrenaline's dumping,
Yeah. This is nice. Do you mind, do you know the brand?
I'll have to look.
All right.
And I'll get back to you on that because
That's-
I just linked
I
up
like
with these
that.
guys and I really do appreciate their work, but I'm not sure what their name is. So I'll find out. Next thing is, I guess I'll pull my wallet out. This is something, of course, I have my Dynamis, Adaptive X jeans on, which has the slash pocket in it, which I love because any wallet, phone, it's offset on your hip. So it's literally sitting on my hip like this, and I'm not sitting on it or it's not impeding my hips or my movement. So I really dig this 9-pocket design, but this is a Dango wallet. I always take notes, and especially in church. When I'm listening to the homily or I'm seeing something or I have something that impacts me through prayer, a lot of times I want to write it down right away, and I am not pulling my phone out in church. So I wanted a small notepad that I could write my feelings and my thoughts and my prayers down on and not be disruptive to my environment and actually have something useful. So I scoured the internet for where's the smallest notepad that I could have that was useful. And this is what I found. These guys, Dango, are doing a great job. I mean, I think they have some of the best stuff out there. And I don't, nothing that you see here, well, I shouldn't say that I'm not sponsored because obviously Dynamis Blades and all that is our stuff that I'm passionate about. But these guys, I'm not sponsored by any other third-party company. Nobody else sponsors me. So these are guys that I just really appreciate. That has a notepad in here. And I've got prayers in here for my brothers that I'm praying for, my family, little notes. And of course, these scribbles are all Joseph at church when he gets a little out of hand. You know what I mean? He loves writing in here. So it's kind of like hey, this is what I'll do. We don't pull out iPhones or anything like that when the kids get rowdy. So we tend to kind of push them to draw. So some of the drawings of Joseph and Aurora are in here. But this dangle wall, it's really, really cool. It's got a pen that's already installed in it. And I think it's the best, most compact option you can have out there.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
Does this have RFID protection by chance?
It does.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's getting
More and more important.
Yeah, so that's that. And then I've got my 365. Are you okay if I pull that out here?
absolutely.
Okay, so might be difficult too. Mind if I stand up for a second?
All good.
Get a little down. So I carry it at 5 o'clock. There's a reason for that. If you've ever been to any of our courses before, there's a methodology behind that. But right now I have the 365 XL on, and it's in one of our Dynamis holsters. It's probably the most comfortable thing that I've carried from a standpoint of concealability, and the XL and SIG have just done such an amazing job with this. I've got a threaded barrel, so I can throw my suppressor on there. I have iron sights, which is just open sights. I don't choose to run a red dot at all. And I've got this on me. I also have an extra magazine, and I keep that in the welt pocket here, which fits perfectly in there. So I've got an extra extended mag. I've got my phone, of course. That's boring. And then lastly, and this is what I carry every day. Like this is not, just for like, hey, I'm on the show.
Yeah, no, you didn't even know we were going to do this.
This is legitimately like what I carry all the time. This is the Dynamis belt, which is the first thing that we made from an apparel perspective. And I wanted to create something that was going to be useful, functional, and be able to have a hidden function. So this is a very low profile belt with no buckle. And I didn't want a buckle because it scratches on things. It gets caught up on things when you're drawing. It just causes a little bit of a hang up. So we made a really streamlined profile in the front and also hidden pockets. So typically I put a hidden key in here, whatever key you want back there. House key, could be any key. And then cash or documents in the front. I typically carry a $100 bill in here. And then you can put coins in this. The cool thing about the coins, and I actually brought one to show you, is when it's loaded with coins, it can act as a impact weapon.
Oh, wow.
So whenever I'm going somewhere where I cannot carry a blade or I cannot carry something else, this is a very simplistic way that I can carry anywhere in the world. And in some cases and in some hand-to-hand situations, I would much rather have this over a blade because I actually have a little bit of reach now. And so when you load the quarters in the top of this, it's just a change pouch. That's all it is. It's just like I would use anything else in my environment. Just like I could use this cup to smash somebody in the face and keep moving. I could use this table to defend myself against somebody with a stick or a blade or any situation. Your whole environment becomes yours in a situation where your life is on the line. But if you have a self-contained carry system, this is something that you can rely on, trust, and carry anywhere. I do not put quarters in it when I'm carrying a blade and a pistol because of the obvious. I already have something else to rely on. When I streamline that, I end up putting change in here. And if you keep it Velcroed and load here, now you have a streamlined device and tool that you can use for impact. So
You designed all of this stuff.
yes.
Is that 100% your innovation?
Yeah.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought into this
I
stuff.
geek out with this stuff. Like this is what I do.
What I like though is it makes sense. It's not just. You don't have to comment on this, but there is a lot of crap in the tactical community that makes zero sense. It's just cool guy garbage, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This stuff that you're innovating it has real application. First thought that comes to my mind is airplanes.
Yeah.
You can take that on a plane.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's just a change pouch.
Yep.
That's all it is. I'm just merely explaining this from a standpoint of like, what else could you use your environment? It's just like you can unbuckle your seatbelt and unclip it from the thing and smash somebody in the face with that too. You know, most airplanes, if you look down, there's a little clip. You can literally unbuckle, you flip the spring, you pull it out, and you literally have a loaded, you know, whatever it is, 10-ounce weapon in your hand. And I would not want to get near that thing with somebody that knew how to swing it.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit of practice will go a long way.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
Fun facts.
good knowledge.
Yeah, fun facts.
That's
So
good knowledge.
this is a really, really useful thing. Carry it every day. I don't know actually what I would do without it. I absolutely love these belts. And because they're streamlined and they can go on anything, so we have them in a couple different widths, but it's cool. It's a useful tool. That's that. You know, you can get creative with what else you could use that belt for, but that's pretty much the majority of it. It's 11:11 and my watch. I mean, that's pretty much all I have. My wedding ring, obviously. But as far as tools go, that is the most streamlined that I keep it. But those are with me every day, non-negotiable. They don't really flex in and out of there. If I do something deliberate, it's all about context for me. Am I going somewhere where there's a little bit more potential of a threat, a little bit more of a heightened feel of something, then maybe I'll switch a platform. But I would say the majority of my days, that's it. And again, like I said, I got 2 bags behind me that I always carry with me everywhere while I'm traveling. So that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Of digging into that stuff.
Well, I appreciate it. I do have something for you. I have a friend at SIG. His name's Jason. And I told him you were coming on. He's a huge fan. He's really excited. And he wanted me to present this to you.
No way. Are you serious?
So that's the latest and greatest 365 macro.
Oh, man.
And I'd love to go ahead
Dude.
pull it out. So there's a card in there. If you take that card and give him a call, I think he has something very similar he'd like to send you.
Oh, dude, Jason. Dude, that was awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. That was really cool.
My pleasure.
That's beautiful.
It's 18 rounds, 17 plus 1 in the pipe, I believe.
Do not know a better platform out there. They are absolutely killing it with this. This is one of the best everyday carry guns that is in existence. I mean, I care about this, and you see I'm carrying the XL right now, so SIG, there you go. That's my daily carry. But this is beautiful. Wow. This will definitely get put to use. It's inspiring to have guys out there that are doing stuff like working at SIG that care so much about what we're doing. And you know, SIG's just got a good group of people over there. They always have. Steve Maddow. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
He
worked over there for a little bit.
The old CMC, is that who we're talking about? Yes.
I really respected him. He's a hard charger. But guys, this is very humbling. Thank you. I will put this thing to work for sure.
Hey, my pleasure.
Yeah, this is awesome.
But well, Dom, I appreciate it, and man, that is some super innovative stuff, and I can't wait to get this out. So
thank you. Me too. So I appreciate that. I also got a little Crush Everything gift bag for you. Is this an appropriate time to give it to you?
Let's do it on the show.
But
We'll link everything below.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to get some of that, it will be linked below.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.